It's time again for the Science Bowl.
Zoo Parade for 5. What big teeth the hippo has are actually a pair of these. Science Potpourri for 10. Would a snake most likely eat every day? Every week, Dateline Science for 10. Why are some elephants wearing necklaces these days? Green things for 15.
And now, here's your host, Mr. Z himself, Dave Zarin.
Thank you and welcome to this middle school edition of Science Bowl. Play along and see if you can come up with our 6 fine scholars. Let's meet our players now. First from James Madison Middle School, say hello to Theodore Levy, Jacob Pounds, and Renee Williams. And from Thomas Johnson Middle School, here they are, Ruth Sophie, Luis Rivera, and Michelle Naya. And now here are the categories of questions we use on Science Bowl.
Okay, Mr. Z, here's today's categories. Green Things, questions about plants and all things green and growing. Zoo Parade, a Noah's Ark of questions about animals. Body Systems, we'll see how much you know about yourself, about things like breathing and growing, and digesting your food. Let's Get Physical, questions that test your knowledge of physics and chemistry, earth science and space science. Then there's Science Potpourri. Here's a grab bag of science questions, everything from air pollution to the kitchen sink. And finally, Dateline Science. We'll ask you about science history and science in the news.
Here on Science Bowl, we arrange our game board according to question difficulty, with the easier questions on the left worth 5 and 10 points, and the tougher ones worth 15, 20, and ultimately 25, the toughest question of them all. Both of our teams start out at 50 points. No penalties ever for incorrect answers. And at the end of the 2 rounds, one of these 2 good-looking teams will come back to play our game again. Let's go over and make sure everything is working properly. Jacob, would you try your buzzer for me? Thank you. Good luck to you, to Theodore, and to Renee. And Luis, would you try the green team's buzzer? It, too, looks like it's working properly. Good luck to you and to Michelle and to Ruth. Are we ready to do this?
Yes.
Yes. The kind of meek yes over there. You're going to do just fine. Let's have a good game. May the better team win. We go alphabetically J before T. So James, Madison, Jacob, start the game. Give me a category and a number, please.
Dateline Science for 10.
Dateline for 10 points. Teams, last year's pandemic of H1N1 was better known as what kind of flu? James Madison.
Swine flu.
You got that right, the swine flu. That was the craze last year. Everybody was clamoring to get vaccinated in time. Turned out to be not quite as bad as we had imagined. Red.
Zoo Parade for 15.
Zoo Parade for 15 points. Teams, 1 out of every 8 birds alive today and 1 out of every 4 mammals alive today is facing total annihilation, meaning that they could go what? They could go what, James Madison?
Extinct.
Extinct, absolutely right. The threat of extinction looms large for so many of today's animals and plants because of human encroachment. Go red.
Green Things 10.
Green Things, 10 points. Teams, Gregor Mendel came up with the laws of heredity by studying these kinds of plants that... Yes, James Madison.
Pea plants.
Pea plants, yes, I was about to say plants that produce vegetables in pods, but you were way ahead of me on that. All right. It's all Jacob so far. Go red.
Body Systems 10.
Body Systems for 10 points. Teams, what embarrassing burp sound emanates from human beings when they get a spasm in their diaphragm? A hiccup. A hiccup is what we're after there. Try again, red.
Let's Get Physical 5.
Let's get physical for 5 points. Teams, recently the University of Maryland football team, the Terrapins, played the University of Miami. Their mascot is what tropical storm? The University of Miami. The Hurricanes. The Hurricanes. Come on, start making some connections here. Go red. Jacob, you choose.
Science Potpourri 10.
Science Potpourri for 10 points. Teams, sea glass, something you can pick up when you walk along the beach, is beautiful. Used to be sharp, but has been ground down by the action of the waves and the surf, and also because seawater has a pH slightly less than 7, it means that the water is slightly what that acted on the glass? Jacob.
I'll throw the question to Theodore.
Theodore.
The glass is slightly acidic.
Absolutely right. Yes, the water is actually slightly acidic, and that is what eats away at that glass. Good answer. All right. Slowly but surely, you're getting comfortable with this game. We're throwing clues out all the time. Try to talk a little bit more among yourselves. You're too quiet. Go red.
Dateline for 5.
Dateline for 5 points. Teams, the world is in mourning because Paul has died. Paul was the cephalopod who correctly predicted all the winners of the World Cup matches. You see, Paul was what kind of animal? Paul was the octopus that was picking Spain to win the World Cup matches. Go, red.
Green things for 5.
Green things for 5 points. Teams, look at the monitor in the studio, please. Teams, what same word can be used to describe this hard, grainy mass that joins a tree limb to a tree trunk, and another word that means the same thing, that sounds the same when you tie 2 pieces of string together? Jacob.
Knot.
A knot. That's a tree knot. Absolutely right. Good. Go.
Zoo parade for 10.
Zoo parade for 10 points. Teams, when researchers saw a chimpanzee put a stick inside of a tree and then use it to pull out termites to eat, it was the first time an animal had ever been seen using a what? Jacob.
Utensil.
A utensil or a tool. Absolutely right. Thought to be just the province of human beings up to that point. Nicely done. All right, 110. Come on, Thomas Johnson. You got to jump in there. Girls, help out Luis there. He's got to push the buzzer. Otherwise, you guys don't have a chance. Come on, Jacob.
Body systems for 15.
Body systems, 15 points. Teams, what part of your body is made up of the clavicle, the scapula, and the humerus bones, plus assorted muscles and tendons? And it's a body part that you can shrug if you don't know the answer. Jacob.
Shoulder.
The shoulder. I don't know. You did. Good. Red.
Let's get physical for 10.
Let's get physical for 10 points. Teams, a mathematical question. I'll give you the points if you are within 2 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale of the ideal temperature inside your refrigerator. You may answer. The ideal temperature inside your refrigerator within 2 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale. Come on, somebody, try. Jacob.
50 degrees.
50 degrees, not quite, nope. Okay, the ideal temperature within a refrigerator within 2 degrees. Thomas Johnson? Yep.
35.
35, absolutely. Correct answer was 37. We would have accepted 35 to 39. All right, so you go out with some points on the board. The buzzer means our first round is over. We'll be back with part 2 in just a moment. Don't go away. And welcome back to Science Bowl. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, and thank you for being part of our silver anniversary year in the Prince George's County Public Schools here on channels 96 and 38, and we're also on YouTube, so check us out there. We have 6 fine young people playing our game here. Let's meet them over at James Madison. Jacob, how do you know so much about science? You've just been banging in with those questions every time.
Well, science is one of my favorite subjects in school. So.
Wow, it certainly shows. And I know you like to do experiments in your spare time as well, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Tell me, first of all, what's the name of your principal?
Mrs. King.
Mrs. King, and she's new to your school, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And who is the sponsor of your team?
Miss Crystal Harkless.
Yes, and she is out there. I know how hard she has worked to get you ready for this. I know it was a winnowing process to find out who would actually represent the school, and we thank Crystal for all of her hard work. Jacob, were there any alternates on your team?
Yes, there was one.
Who was that?
Victor.
Victor. We'll bring Victor out a little bit later with Miss Harkless so that you can meet them. Jacob, tell us what you hope to do someday.
I hope to become a paleontologist one day.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier and talking about some of the places, even here in Prince George's County, where you can find fossils. How'd you get interested in that?
I just like to watch these educational television shows, and it just all took off from there. I decided I want to be one of those people on one of those shows.
Absolutely, boy. When I grow up, I want to be just like that. That's a great way to kind of plan a career. Theodore, nice to have you here with us. Young man who likes to invent things, right? You must be good at math, too. Yes. Yeah, I can tell. And tell me, is there a uniform at James Madison?
Yes, there is.
You do have to wear a uniform. Is that the polo shirt that you have to wear?
Yes.
Very good. All right. And that's every day of the week?
Yes.
You don't even...
Except for seventh grade. Seventh grade
Yeah,
wear
they wear
white,
yellow.
yellow.
Ah, okay, so you can tell who's who by the color of the shirt. I got it, I got it. What do you do in your spare time, Theodore?
I just like to tinker with items and sort of invent things, and I also like to solve mathematical equations because it gives me a larger math background.
Well, it sounds like you're always challenging yourself, and boy, that's a great way to live your life. You don't get complacent, you know, look at a problem, okay, how can I figure that out? Good job, nice to have you with us. And Renee, you're a singer, I know, and you're not going to sing for us today, are you? I'm sure you could, though. You have a nice confidence about you. What do you want to do someday?
I have a lot of options open. One is a veterinarian. I love animals. I do have a dog at home. His name is Rocky. He's a Cocker Spaniel. I've been loving animals since I was a little girl. I've done summer camps with different kind of animals, horse training them, riding courses, and that's another one I want to be, is a horse trainer. My dad's been trying to give me to do some type of summer camp over the summer to help kids who love animals, and I watch television shows on most of them.
That's wonderful. You know, certainly your love of animals comes through. You know, animals can sense if you're an animal person, you know, because they don't respond to everybody. So obviously you've got the knack. You've got the knack. Keep up your good play in here today. Thomas Johnson, nice to have you guys with us today. You're going to change your tactics in the second round, aren't you? We want to hear more from you. Louise, tell us about your school. Who's your principal?
Dr. Robinson.
Dr. Robinson, all right. And the sponsor of your team is Mr. Sempler. And he has been with us for a number of years. He even helps us judge our games, and we appreciate all of Ken's work. And tell me, Louise, are there any alternates on your team?
Israel and...
Yetunde.
And?
Yetunde.
All right, we'll bring them out in just a few moments so people can see them as well. Louise, tell us how they made you the captain of the team.
Well, they saw that I have more background in mathematics, and they kind of thought I was going to be more leadership type.
Absolutely. You know, it's confidence. You know, it's a confidence game. You know, and you have to be quick on the buzzer there. You got to be a collaborative person. You got to listen to opinions from both sides. What do you want to do someday, Louise?
I want to do someday. I wanted to be a neurologist.
A neurologist. Yes, we were talking about that. And the young man has concerns about people who have brain injuries and problems, and a really noble ambition there, Louise. I hope you are very successful. Ruth, nice to have you with us today. Young lady who's interested in the television business. You look like an anchor woman or a reporter over there. You like to sing and act and do all other kinds of things. Why did you want to be on our show?
Well, I heard about it. I thought it would help me in my science and tech program.
Very good. All right, so we've got good word of mouth out there on the street. Tell me what you do in your spare time if you're not singing and acting and doing those other things, or does that take up all your time?
Well, on my spare time, I like to dance, so I just like to play with my friends.
Very good. Very normal thing. You know, friends are everything in life. Michelle, nice to have you with us today. Tell us about yourself. You're also a public person. You like to get out there, don't you, and perform?
Yeah.
Tell us what you do.
Well, I love to dance a lot. Well, I started dancing since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of dance?
Hip hop. I like to mix it. I do lyrical, classic, jazz sometimes.
Yeah. Do you ever want to be on Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, I wanted to be, when I turn 15, I want to be on America's Best Dance Crew.
Very good. All right. That's a great ambition. What do you want to do professionally someday?
I want to be a lawyer who graduated from the University of Yale.
Yale, very good. All right. Well, you told me you're a good arguer, and that's always a prerequisite for a good lawyer, so nice to have you with us. All right, let's get back to our game. Lots of points to give away. 125 for Madison, 60 for Thomas Johnson and Louise. We went to break with you answering correctly, so start us out.
Body systems for 20.
Body systems for 20 points. Teams, what kind of life-saving first aid method now has changed its recommendations? You don't have to breathe for the victim anymore. You just have to do 100 compressions real fast. Thomas Johnson. Come on, Ruth.
CPR.
CPR, that's what I want to hear. Good, for 20 points. Good, go. Louise.
Body systems for 5.
Body systems for 5 points, teams. Because of the way Count Dracula takes his lunch, you could say he's a pain in the what? James Madison.
Neck.
He's a pain in the neck. Absolutely right. Okay, good. Red.
Dateline science for 20.
Dateline for 20 points. Team's very sad. Many people in Haiti today are suffering from drinking water that is contaminated with human waste, and they have contracted what C-initialed bacterial disease characterized by diarrhea and vomiting. C-initialed. Cholera, been all over the news, all over the news. Try again, red. No, Jacob, you pick. Go ahead.
Science potpourri for 15.
Science potpourri for 15 points teams. We all have heard of Iron Man and Spider-Man. Well, on the Science Channel, there's another man, and he is named for these pieces of celestial rock that sometimes collide with Earth. What's his name? He's what man? Come on, Jacob.
I throw the Theodore.
What do you think, Theodore?
I think Meteor Man.
That's it. He's Meteor Man and Meteorite Man. Good. Go. Red.
Let's get physical for 20.
Let's get physical for 20 points. Teams, look at the monitor in the studio, please. I'll give you 20 points if you can tell me the names of these pieces of glassware. They all have the same name. They're all what's? They're flasks. Flasks. If you do hands-on science, hopefully you have a chance to encounter flasks and beakers and test tubes. Go red.
Dateline Science 15.
Dateline 15 points teams. Back in the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, bubonic plague wiped out most of Europe. Today the bubonic plague still exists. It is carried by a bacterium that lives on rodent fleas. But it's not a threat anymore because it can be easily treated since it's caused by a bacterium by using what kinds of drugs? Come on, Jacob.
Antibiotics.
You've got that right. Antibiotics zap those bacteria until the bacteria outwit the antibiotics, and that's happening more and more these days. Good answer, young man. Go.
Green Things 15.
Green Things 15 points, team. In the fall, when the leaves turn colors, the xanthophyll is the yellow pigment that you can see. But that only appears when what green pigment is no longer being produced. James Madison.
Chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll, that's right. The chlorophyll production ceases, and the nice reds and yellows and oranges that were there all along can then be seen. They're then visible. Go again, red.
Zuperate for 5.
Zuperate for 5 points. Teams, folklore says it's going to be a bad winter if the tail on this famous acorn barrier gets very furry. What animal buries acorns? Squirrels. Squirrels. If the squirrel's tail is very bushy, folklore says it's going to be a bad winter. Try again, red.
Zuperate for 20.
Zuperate for 20 points. Teams, there's a bird called the Arctic tern, and scientists have discovered tiny bits of magnetite, an ore, embedded in its bill. That probably explains why this bird can do this better than any other creature on Earth. James Madison.
Navigate across the planet.
Absolutely right. It is the champion migrator, going from the South Pole to the North Pole and back again 40,000 miles using the magnetic field of the Earth. That magnetite is its magnet. Red.
Let's get physical for 15.
Let's get physical for 15 points. Teams, some analysts say that the leading country of the 21st century will be the country that invents the best of these that we sometimes refer to as the lithium-ion or alkaline or AA or AAA varieties. James Madison.
I passed to Theodore.
Theodore.
Battery.
You got it, young man. Batteries. The best battery will somehow rule the new industrial revolution. Go. Red.
Dateline Science for 25.
Dateline for 25, the big one in that category. Teams, just a few weeks ago, if you went down to the Smithsonian on the Mall, there was a U.S. Science and Engineering Fair, and you could get your picture taken with two famous scientists. One, a guy dressed up like Albert Einstein. The other, a woman dressed up like this famous Polish scientist who discovered radium, and along with her husband Pierre, won Nobel Prizes. Who was she? She was Marie Curie, who died of radium poisoning because back then they didn't realize how awful radioactivity was. Try again, red. You still have the lead and the advantage. Jacob?
Science potpourri for 20.
Potpourri for 20 points. Multiple choice question. Teams, recently, a group of ants was given a Big Mac as their only source of food. The only thing the ants ate were the sesame seeds on the bun. Because were the ants omnivores, folivores, or granivores? Okay, Thomas Johnson.
Omnivores.
Not omnivores. No, they only ate the seeds, Jacob.
Granivores?
Granivores. Grain, granivore. That was the connection. Go red.
Green things for 20.
Green things for 20 points, teams. A new book is out called The Vertical Farm. It's all about growing plants and vegetables indoors. You don't need pesticides, you don't need herbicides, and since all the plants are grown hydroponically, you also don't need this. What don't you need, Luis?
Soil.
Soil, that's it. Absolutely. Good, go.
Science potpourri for 5.
Potpourri for 5 points, teams. If Benjamin Franklin, way back when, had wanted a tattoo, he probably could have chosen the same logo that appears on Harry Potter's forehead. James Madison.
A lightning bolt.
A lightning bolt. Remember, Ben Franklin was out there with the key and the kite in the electrical storm. Go red.
Zoo parade for 25.
Zoo parade for 25. The big one in that category, teams. Eels lead a catadromous lifestyle, meaning they live opposite to how salmon live. I will give you 25 points if you can tell me where eels spend most of their lives and where they go to spawn. Opposite of salmon. All right, come on, James Madison.
They live most of their life in underwater caves, and they spawn in the ocean.
Judges, absolutely right. Good. It's just the reverse of what the salmon do. They spend their lives in the ocean, and they head upstream when it's time to spawn. All right, we're down to our last 4 questions. They're all big ones. Red.
Let's get physical for 25.
Let's get physical for 25 points, teams. In our solar system, the 2 giant planets are Jupiter and Saturn. The 2 small giants, sizes 3 and 4, are what 2 planets? All right, James Madison.
Neptune and Uranus.
You got them both. Yes, sir. Good. With nice help there from Renee and Theodore. Go. Red.
Body systems for 25.
Body systems for 25 points. Teams on the television show The Biggest Loser. People are worried about LBSs, pounds. But they're also worried about BMI, which stands for their body. What, Jacob?
Mass index.
That's it. Good. Oh, the buzzer has rung, and that looks like James Madison has done it. We'll be back with a wrap-up in just a moment. Don't go away. And welcome back to Science Bowl. I hope you were able to keep up with our players today. We had a fine game today. Our final tally is Thomas Johnson 100, James Madison 310. Past champions, maybe future champions. You played a great game today. Theodore and Jacob and Renee, congratulations. Victor, I know how proud you are, Ms. Harkless. All your hard work paid off. Congratulations. We'll see you in the next game. See some smiles over there. Obviously, you guys had a good time. We loved having you, Ruth and Luis and Michelle. And back there, Yetunde and Israel and Miss Martin Frederick, the counselor, who worked along with Mr. Sempler to get the team here today. Thank you for your work, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Science Bowl. Bye-bye now.